And welcome to the hearings for the Mangawhai Heads Concept Plan and the Surf Club lease on Monday, the 24th of February 2025. The panel hearing submissions today are myself, Jonathan Larson. We have Mayor Craig Jepson and Councillor Rachel Williams. And we have an apology from Councillor Mike Howard, which I will move that his apology is accepted. Can I have a seconder, please? All those in favour? Right. Against? Motion carried. Okay, we're going to have a confirmation of the agenda. I will move that. Can I have a seconder, please? Yep. Mayor Jepson. All those in favour? Against? Motion carried. Do we have any conflicts of interest to declare from the panel? No conflicts of interest. Okay, so we'll move to the first item, which is item 2. Can we have that up on the screen, please? So that is that the Mangawhai Heads Reserve Concept Plan Working Group receives the 193 submissions submitted for the Mangawhai Heads Reserve Concept Plan. Here's the submitters who want to be heard and agrees that the submissions received after the official close, but up until 11:59 p.m. the 2nd of February 2025 be included in the hearings and deliberations process. Do I have a mover for that, please? I'll move that. Mayor Jepson. And a seconder? Councillor Williams. Any discussion? Those in favour say aye. Aye. Against? Motion carried. Move to item number 3, which is the Mangawhai Heads Volunteer Lifeguard Service Incorporated new lease consultation submissions. That the Mangawhai Heads Reserve Concept Plan Working Group receives the 85 submissions submitted for the Mangawhai Heads Volunteer Lifeguard Service Incorporated new lease. Here's the submitters who want to be heard and agrees that the submission received after the official close, but up until 11:59 p.m. on the 3rd of February 2025, be included in the hearings and deliberations process. I have a mover, please. Councillor Williams. Second. Mayor Jepson. Any discussion? All those in favour say aye. Aye. Against? Motion carried. Okay, thank you, everybody. We'll welcome everybody in the gallery there who have come to engage in this process. We really appreciate your input and we look forward to hearing from you. Your submissions have been read, and what we will do is we'll invite you to come one at a time and speak to your submissions, setting out the key points. You'll have 5 minutes to do that, and then there'll be up to 5 minutes for any questions for clarification specifically relating to your submission from the panel, and then we'll move to the next person on the list. Happy to proceed, Alana. Okay, so the first person on our list is Morris Langdon. Welcome, Morris. Yeah, come down to the presenters table. Thank you.
Okay, well, on the basis you've read my submission, I'll quickly go through. With respect to the proposed cut, it is 20+ metres back from the base of the hill, and when you get 20 metres back, 20+ metres, you're 4.5 to 5 metres above the ground. That requires around about 3,000 cubic metres of rock and soil to be removed, and the cut may require retaining. I want to put a cost on that. I'd probably say it's 120 to 150. Existing toilet block, my item 2. It's about a third the way through its consented life at the moment. If you had to replace that at the moment, it's 100 square metres, toilet block, services and everything, $2,000 a square metre, probably say you're of the order of 350K. I appreciate it's a balance sheet item. My third point is the commercial build. I've made a lot of comment of a broader nature in my written submission, but a cut like that would deliver a platform of about 850 square metres, 65% site coverage. You're going to get a building footprint of about 500, less the public toilets, which you'd probably say are 100, 150. Leaves 350 ground floor for development. So I've got a few questions that I'd like to comment on there. The public toilets, we assume they're going to be 24/7 in the same facilities that are provided at the moment with cleaning and all that. If the toilets are incorporated in the building, then they're more likely to cost 500,000, which is about 4,000 a square metre. So is the developer private? Who owns the building? Will it be offered to a developer on the lease? What are the guarantees about the public toilets? And if you look at the cumulative costs through the cut, the existing toilets, I mean, you could be looking at 750 to $1 million. That's got to be buried somewhere, whether it's in a lease arrangement, write-off, or something. My last comment's on the car park. The new car park proposes 201 spaces, but my suggestions for modification to that would reduce it by 10 or 12 spaces. The problem with the car park design is it simply doesn't work in peak times. It's a one-way system with a triple loop, one way in, one way out. So if you're near the entry point and somebody's reversing out down the road, you can find a queue at peak times, 6, 8 cars back down the road. The current car park has 170 spaces with 107 spaces with 42 informal spaces, and that includes the grass area where the helicopter pad used to be. The new car park footprint looks like it's adding about 40 square metres, 40% increase in the pavement area. Not only is that $150 per square metre, but it's got to be treated before it flows into Picnic Bay. And there was an issue there about 5 or 6 years ago with outflow into Picnic Bay where Northern Regional Council got involved. I have a further suggestion. If you keep the existing car park, 107 cars.
1 minute remaining.
Sorry?
1 minute remaining.
Okay. You build the additional 21 car parks against the dock property. You formalise parallel parking on the other side without widening the current car park, and you leave the car park as existing. It'll get you through to 164 cars. This is about 190. Now, there'll be absolute minimal cost to that and minimal environmental damage. So parking's always going to be limited at the beachfront. That's been obvious from the start. You'll never get enough car parks there as the population increases. So I think the solution to the car parking goes somewhere else, but I don't really think it's good value to invest all that money in more car parking for peak periods. That's all I have.
Thanks very much, Morris. Do we have any questions for Morris relating to this submission from the panel, please?
Oh, I just had one question.
Yep, Councillor Williams.
Thanks for coming along today. I just had a question for you regarding the building footprint that we have on the concept plan.
Yes.
Just In your opinion, are there other areas in the reserve that could be considered for a new building in the future?
Probably not. The ground's quite unstable on both sides, down to the beach and down to Picnic Bay. But I mean, you know, you'd need some geotechnical advice to find building platforms.
Thank you.
All right, any further questions? Okay, thank you very much for you coming to see us today, Morris.
Thanks, Sean. Thanks all.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Jess Costello for Mangawhai Heads Volunteer Lifeguard Service. Welcome, Jess.
Thank you.
And just, you're speaking on behalf of a number of people, and so you can have up to 10 minutes if you want to speak.
Thank you.
And also up to 10 minutes for questions if needed from the panel.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
you.
Tēnā koutou katoa. My name is Jess Costello and I represent 24 life members, 148 junior surf children and their parents, and 56 active lifeguards at the Mangawhai Heads Volunteer Lifeguard Service. We appreciate the opportunity to speak on the proposed concept plan for the Mangawhai Heads Reserve and Lease. And while we welcome the development and improvements to the reserve, we have several concerns regarding the plan that we believe need to be addressed to ensure both community safety and the continued success of our life-saving operations. I'm also proud to announce we have 6 other members of our club and a representative from Lifesaving Northern Region that are speaking today. First, we'd like to acknowledge some of the positive elements of the concept plan. The creation of green spaces, improvements to the reserve's overall aesthetic are all commendable. Additionally, the vision to enhance public beach access and improve the general public's experience at the reserve is something we can all support. However, there are several significant concerns we must address. Access and parking. Parking and access for the surf lifeguards, emergency services and surf club members must be top priority. The limited car parking proposed, particularly for our lifeguard services, is not sufficient for our growing needs. We also need clear and easy access for emergency services. Clubhouse location. The proposed location for the surf club and commercial building is not feasible for effective lifeguard operations. The current clubhouse site offers excellent views of the main beach, the Mangawhai Bar and estuary, and is ideally located for rapid emergency response times. Relocating the clubhouse would increase the distance from the beach and hinder the ability to respond quickly during rescues. Accessibility and future growth. We fully support the inclusion of improved public beach access, including provisions for those with restricted mobility. It is equally important to expand the bus bay and continue developing green spaces to encourage broader use of the reserve. Looking ahead to 10 to 20 years, the surf club should remain at its location with an expanded facility to meet the growing needs of our membership and the increasing demand for lifeguard services, junior surf programs and beach education. Mangawhai Heads Surf Club is committed to being a long-term steward of the Mangawhai Heads Reserve. We have already secured 1.9 million to repair a slip on the reserve, demonstrating our ongoing investment in maintaining the safety and integrity of the area. We are also in the process of repairing our building as efficiently as possible and are working through the necessary consent and funding requirements for a sea wall in front of the club and a boat ramp to ensure our continued operations. Our club and its members are dedicated to providing vital lifeguard services for the Mangawhai community, and we have no intention of losing sight of the values that have driven us since our inception: to prevent drowning and to protect New Zealand's coastal communities. We are not alone in this effort. As you'll see in the majority of the submissions, we have strong community support behind us. Our members and local residents understand the vital role the surf club plays in keeping Mangawhai Heads safe. Our work is supported by those who rely on our services and are passionate about our mission. You cannot take that away from us or dictate the terms of our operation. Our values to keep people safe and protect our community will not waver, no matter the challenges. Additionally, we take our environmental and cultural responsibilities very seriously. As guardians of the land and sea, We are committed to protecting the whenua and ensuring that any developments respect the cultural and environmental significance of that space. Our club is not only about lifeguarding, it is about preserving and respecting the environment we serve. And finally, on the granting of the lease, we agree with the 5+1+1+1+1. However, if there is to be no commercial development, we respectfully ask that the lease for the surf clubhouse be extended to a long-term agreement. Specifically, we revert to our original request for a 33-year lease with a right of renewal. This is critical for providing the security we need to continue our operations without delay or disruption. We need the certainty that our tenure will be stable for the future. We request that this process move forward without unnecessary delays. We believe that the development of the Mangawhai Heads Reserve can be a success if it is done with careful consideration of the surf club's operational needs and keep the surf lifeguard club as a central focus, making sure that the existing clubhouse site is prioritised. The current location offers the best access, vantage points, proximity to the water, making it the most effective site for lifeguard operations. We welcome continued consultation with the KDC and Te Reo Hau to ensure that the final plan meets the community's evolving needs. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jess.
No worries.
Do we have any questions for Jess from panel?
I did have a question of sorts. In your written submission, you'd said about Picnic Bay and the access. I just wondered, had you seen that we have still kept the 2 access points? We've just moved it from the steep area that's there now.
As long as we do respond to Picnic Bay, obviously with outgoing tides. So if the access that you've incorporated within that green space that's closer to our club, if that had good access for us, that would be perfect.
Okay, great to hear your thoughts on that. Thank you.
Great questions. Thank you very much, Jess.
Okay, thank you.
Are we
Thanks, Jess.
going to go on the order of the board? Okay, thank you. Next we have Donald Bax.
I'm bold.
Yeah, that's all right. Well, we'll have Margot then if she's can jump up. Sure. Thank you, Margot. You've got 5 minutes to speak to us.
So picture this, the warm glow of the dawn sky over the sea in Mangawhai Beach as a group of men and women arrive for a swim. They greet each other with an air of cheerful anticipation. And after choosing where to enter, whether it's the surf or the estuary, they walk down the access way to the beach, chatting happily as they begin their morning workout, a long swim past the sand dune and back. Mayor Jackson, Deputy Mayor and councillors. I'm Margot Burton. I'm a gerontology nurse specialist. I retired up here after working for many years for the ADHB. Gerontology is the study of older people. And during my study, I researched self-management for older people. That was my dissertation. So this includes their ability to maintain their health and well-being and to remain active. So it's my passion and focus today to emphasise the importance of considering the mobility needs of older people when building access ways and walkways and stairs to the beaches. When I see risky access to the beach, I get worried. We do not want to see older people injured. It's to be avoided. I've been an active ocean swimmer now for 2 years, and the group of about 25 of us relish the environment we have here with the unusually unique choice of both estuary and sea. We require good, safe access to these 2 places and space to socialise at the beach afterwards. One of the swimmers in the group, Dave Henderson, better known as Hendo, is in his mid-70s. Hendo was once New Zealand's lead swim instructor, and he became a leader in water safety for New Zealand. He's a passionate swimmer and a solid member of our group. I'm concerned about his ongoing ability to access the beaches. He stoically walks down the route, whichever we choose. Most older people don't speak up for their needs, so here I am speaking up for them. They certainly want to be provided with ease of access and safe access from the beach. I request the council carefully consider each access way, prioritising the needs of older people. Because I'm a nurse, I'm not going to advise you on what to build, but the design needs to be user-friendly for them, those who are likely to find access ways problematic. So I recommend that you consult with professionals who deal with designing for people with mobility issues. My swimming group use the council access ways to the beach all year round, most days of the year. I support your plans to create walkways to the two beaches. I encourage you to make well-researched choices around where they're located, the route, and sympathetic to the environment, lasting and accessible. Specifically to your plans, I would really rather keep the easiest way to the surf beach, that one that's close down to the existing surf club driveway, because it's so low down, makes it easier for older people to walk back up. There's less sand to climb up to return from their swim. Plus, it tends to be less damaged by storms. And secondly, at Picnic Bay, I understand your plans to change the access because of the water damage it gets with each storm. But obviously that is a priority for people. They like to go that way. So if there's any way that you can make it easy to access the new planned access way so that we don't break into creating another walkway that you don't want us to use, it's really important. So in summary, consider the ageing population in any of your plans. Aim to keep the hendos of our world able to access their beaches. Plan for something that you can use when you're 80. And please join us for a coffee after a Saturday swim. I'd love to see you there.
Wonderful. Thank you, Miko. Yeah, so we've got up to 5 minutes for any questions from the panel. If what you have said is not abundantly clear.
No questions, but thank you for your presentation.
I've got one.
Yes.
In terms of how the challenge, of course, is creating a functional access down there with the challenges of the moving sand and the soft sand too.
Yes. To Picnic Bay?
Well, to either.
Yeah.
And you know, it's a challenge. So have you? So are you envisaging something like a concrete, not a concrete ramp, a wooden ramp that's got slope for wheelchairs or something like that?
I'm not an expert on it. So I think that if we were to have something that worked for people that isn't going to get subsidence, yes, but we're going to get subsidence or we're going to get sand blown onto it. So yes, I do think it would be lovely to have a low gradient ramp style thing like you have pictured that goes towards the cliff walkway. But I don't know how you're going to maintain that because it will constantly need maintenance because it'll get sand blown on it or get subsided.
You'll accept that you can't, in every instance, everywhere in the district, create those sort of accesses because of the difficulties.
Sorry?
Accept that you can't always do that everywhere in the district where you would like to have those accesses. You would accept that it's not always possible to be completely accessible.
Absolutely. I know that it's not, and I'm not expecting perfection, but what I see is the options that you have put in have valid reasons behind them, and so I'm not against the options, but I'm hoping that the public doesn't do something like go the way they always want to go. And then that destroys your point of spending the money on a completely new access way. That was really what I was aiming at, your understanding.
Yeah.
Thank you, Margot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Donald Baxter. Welcome, Donald.
Councillors, thank you for your time. Appreciate it. Basically, wanting to focus really more on the lifeguarding side of things, but some impact. Bit of background on me, I've been coming up here for about 25 years or so. When I first started coming up, I thought, well, we lack this, we lack that, we lack the other. But as over time, I've started to appreciate what Mangawhai is actually about. There's three different areas that really have to be taken into consideration all the time. Is the culture of the area, both traditional and historical, based on what's happened in Mangawhai over the years, but also this plan overall, the economic viability of it all. It just doesn't make sense. You've got three areas of dedicated hospitality area in Mangawhai already, and as I'm driving down this morning, I'm reminded also if you've got Maz and the museum there as well, both operating hospitality-based functions. So, for somewhere that really for less than 65, 70 days of the year where we have parking problems, it just doesn't seem viable to actually operate any sort of commercial activity. Now that's based on, if you have a look at the history of the area, the pad where the surf club is right now, that was put in by locals and surf club members. Yes, council probably rubber stamped it in the day, fine. The club was erected, once again, put in by locals and surf club members. Once again, that would have had to have been approved by a local council, I'm assuming, back in 1963, 4, whatever. The funding from central government funding to fix the slip caused by probably an accumulative effect of Gabriel and the anniversary floods. Once again, wasn't put in by council funding, and that's fine, because we know you had a lot of stuff to deal with in the corporate district, and that's fine. But I think you've got to appreciate efforts from surf club members and also the community to make sure that central funding was actually obtained, put in place, and yes, thank you very much for rubber stamping that finally and getting it through. So that leads me on to based on all that, I think you've got to appreciate that the community dedication to a core competency area of what Mangawhai is about is the cultural significance of having the surf club there and it operating safely. That will be covered by a lot of other people after me, and that's fine in regards to the safety. So, given the commitment by the community and the members in this of the club, and also the future of our kids that are training these days, we get well over 100, 110, 120 kids. We have to literally cap it because only a certain amount of volunteers to look after those kids, and that's growing every year. So that is the future of this area. We do have not a dangerous beach all the time, but the bar is marginal at best. I mean, there's been safety awards, the highest civil allocation of safety awards by surf club members going out and saving lives on that. Without it being in the area where it is, that wouldn't happen. So I think a 30-year lease certainly should be looked at for that, given the amount of input. And, given that, I think it's probably unrealistic to actually look at trying to set up some sort of privatised function of some extra hospitality unit, which, by the way, 1/3 of all drownings, and it's a statistical fact, is caused by alcohol. Okay, we don't need it anywhere near the water. The current leaseholder running the ice cream and coffee stands there now, they do a great job. They operate full time 6 weeks of the year. The rest is just weekends between Easter and Labour Week, Labour weekend and Easter. I've been a volunteer just over recent times, but even in those times, I have sat and been with a couple of other lifeguards, and we've outnumbered the people on the beach. So I think it'd probably be better to look at the funds you're looking at committing to redevelopment. Why don't you put a world-class life-saving facility in there, and everything else will build around that over time. So that's probably the main area. I think other people have also put in submissions in regards to the expenditure, and it doesn't make sense as well. And yeah, I think if you're going to commit it to something you've already got that's already really good. It is unique there. Can't make it like anything else, because we've only got one way in, one way out. And as I say, for 300 days of the year, approximately, it's not a problem. All right. So that's just a brief thing.
Thank you very much, Donald. Do we have any questions from the panel for Donald relating to the submission?
No, I don't, but thank you for the submission. It was very clear and understood.
Okay. Thank you,
Donald.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right, thank you. For anybody that's arrived in the gallery since the meeting commenced, everybody's got 5 minutes to speak to their submission, and then up to 5 minutes for any questions from the panel. And next up we have Moira Jackson. Welcome, Moira, and you've made submissions on both of the topics, so you've got up to 10 minutes to go over your main points.
Thank you. My name is Moira Jackson. I've been a regular visitor to Mangawhai for more than 40 years and a resident for over 12. I have an MA in anthropology from the University of Auckland and a PhD in archaeology from the University of Otago. Initially, I'm going to talk about the surf club lease, and I'd like to clarify. Apparently, I put in 2 submissions. It was of an online glitch. So please delete submission 12 and use submission 55, and I'll take it as read. From my perspective, the Surf Club is an excellent Mangawhai Heads asset run by a team of enthusiastic volunteers who work hard to keep our wonderful beach safe for the greater good of our community. I'd like KDC to take a more strategic approach to ensuring the Surf Club, with its about to be completed upgrade of the buildings and related facilities, I'd like to see them guarantee a long-term presence. I agree that KDC should renew the club lease, but the current proposed lease term is far too short given the importance of the service this organisation provides. The annual renewal cost of the lease imposes unnecessary legal and administrative costs on both KDC and the voluntary organisation. I'd just like to mention a little bit. I have an experience in qualitative and quantitative surveying and statistical analyses, as they are key tools in anthropological research. And in the past, I've also worked for major research companies, including Colmar Brunton and UMR. And I really hope the data analysts take some care analysing the survey results for them to be truly meaningful. I recognise a potential issue while I took this short survey, and I've had a quick look at the submissions for the Surf Club, and there is a key issue. There's only 4 questions. 2 of them are not particularly questions, and the problem is that it's a quantitative question. Number 2 gives only 2 choices, yes or no, not a don't know or not sure or whatever. And when I looked at the question 2 and question 3 responses, the yes responses are really yes, but. And I think that whoever's doing an analysis should read the 2 questions together and take it as a joint thing, because you'll get a misleading result if you just go yes, do a number thing on yes and no. You won't get a really accurate response, but that's just my opinion.
are for the hordes of the washed and the unwashed lovers of the sand and the sea. We who struggle already to find a car park there most summer weekends. This draft plan, nailed minutely to a post at the Heads car park over summer and looking suspiciously like a golf resort layout, will not, as suggested in the notice, result in increased parking. It may increase the formal parking, but only supplanting the informal parking, which is already fully used. And then there will be the parking commandeered and necessitated by any business which will set up on the new premises if it comes to pass. There's no way to significantly improve the parked access within the geophysical constraints we have at the Heads Reserve, and this issue will only worsen. So let's not pretend that we can use any of this area for significant commercial development. The existing parking headed down towards the Surf Lifesaving Club now seems to be earmarked to be developed into a genteel planted reserve, so as not to bruise the gaze of any diners or sports bar clientele as they take in a stunning view towards Tauranga and the offshore islands. A view that will be unblemished by the cars of the surfers, the lifesavers, or even Jude Knights as she does her daily de-liquor of the beach. Or those getting up to have one of Billy's coffees and an eyeful of surf. Billy and Shannon's coffee and ice cream cart is the perfect and maximum level of commercial development for our beach, in my opinion, by the way. The conflict with parking is bad enough, but to me, what is worse is the attempted land grab of our reserve and pass site. Individuals getting property rights over our taonga, our safe space, turning something magnificent and primal into a bland, everywhere kind of space. So you want to casually slice into the base of our pa hill for a building platform like it means nothing? Who exactly do you think you are? Pauline and I first came to Picnic Bay in the early 80s, coming upon the magic of the harbour mouth and the turquoise waters almost by accident, stumbling down the bad path in the sand through the pines and the lupins. Our kids grew up here and on that beach, enjoying long evenings there and shared dinners with friends. And now my grandchildren swim there with their own parents. It's peaceful, safe and quiet. It's a refuge for the locals, who are mostly young working families by my observation. The Heads Reserve and the Twin Seas are the only constant in the unrelenting and frantic development of the Mangawhai district. We all have to accept development and make our peace with it, or we move on. But something of the spirit or the being of the old Mangawhai must be kept, in my view, at any cost. And I think that vestige of the old Mangawhai is there at the Mangawhai Heads, where the ocean comes in, tides go in and out. It's very special. And I'd just like to note that over the last couple of weeks, we lost a couple of wonderful people, Malcolm Roberts and Jim Wintle, who represented the best values of this community, I think. Malcolm was a patron of the Arts Society, and Jim was the unofficial, unelected mayor of Mangawhai. Jim was into every community endeavour in a major way. No ego, no self-dealing, always open and cheerful. So councillors, please don't come to us as thieves in the night, presenting the agendas, possibly of others, in a patently underhand way during a busy summer break when everyone is distracted, with possibly the legal, but no way the moral minimum of notification. If you are genuine in wanting community discussion about changing the use of iconic and protected reserve, do it openly. An appropriate level of notification and discussion, like our recently departed Kaumatua would have had. This way, to me, it smells of a stitched up backroom deal with undisclosed promoters. You can do better and be better than this. Before this came out of the blue, we had been feeling great about our KDC. Your involvement in the fantastic shared path that links the Heads in the village and your swift and effective response to the tornado, that was so appreciated. So please reconsider the thrust of your draft proposal for this area, which is so poorly presented and argued. The Mangawhai Heads Bar is something we surf on. We nervously drive our boats across. It should not and never become a slab of granite that is crossed by a cocktail. If the Council adopts this plan without removing the potential for commercial exploitation of the reserve, we will fight you. We will fight you on the beaches. We will fight you on the bar, on the car park, the fields and the streets of Molesworth. We will never let you subvert the Heads Reserve. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Dave. Do we have any questions for, oh, sorry, Dave? Malcolm? Do we have any questions for Malcolm?
I don't, but thank you for your presentation.
Thanks, Malcolm. Okay, next up we have Dave Chisholm. You have, thank you very much for coming and seeing us. You have made submissions on both topics, so you have up to 10 minutes to speak to your submissions and then up to 10 minutes for questions if needed. Panel.
Okay. First one was the lease of the surf club area.
Yes.
Is that right?
You can speak in either, whatever you prefer.
The way it's been presented out here or in this draft concept plan, that was about the only way you could do it. Is that right? Because the surf club does need longer tenure, almost forever, really. So the lease of the 5 + 5 + 1 + 1, I understand it's because you can't give the 35-year lease that they want till the building is rectified. Am I correct in that?
Well, just in terms of the way that the hearing works, we're not here to answer questions, but we can refer you to staff outside of the hearing to get you some greater detail.
Right.
So the purpose of the hearing is for you to speak to the key points of your submissions.
Right. Okay. So.
And then the panel, if they have questions for clarification on your submissions, then they can ask questions.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm in favour of this of the lease arrangement as it was put out in here until the time that the building is rectified and they can make a longer term tenure on it. So that's all I need to go ahead with on that part of it there. We'll go back on to the main part, the reserve part of the Mangawhai. Mangawhai Heads Reserve, that's right. Okay, I've never been told yet who RBT Design is, so that's something you might be able to let me know later on there. Out of the whole design, what I'm most concerned about is the surf club and access to it. The way that this design has been put together, it treats the surf club like a second-class citizen. You know, go away over there. When we all know that Mangawhai Heads Beach is why people come to Mangawhai, and the surf club is what makes the place safe. If you look at the plan that they've come up with here, these people, the access to the surf club is down a shared path leading away from the middle of the car park, a hairpin bend to get into it, wonderful for cars, you know, for utes and trailers that are necessary to get to the surf club, plus any emergency vehicles. It's bloody nuts. It's not going to work. So I'm totally against all of that carry on. The surf club has to have access for a number of vehicles, and with this here, the 3 car parks, these people away with the ferries. So the amount of money that the council has spent on the toilets and the existing car park going down to the surf club and the boardwalk would amount to what, a couple $1 million? And on this plan here, it's to rip it all up. Why? The new design for this, or the proposed talking points about this, allows for a grassed area by the beach. What's going to happen to that? It's going to get covered in sand. It'll just go back to sand dunes. It does take away, with taking away that boardwalk, it takes away 2 accesses to the beach. it leaves one access to the beach from a boardwalk that goes across the driveway to get to the surf club. That's it. You can probably tell that I'm pretty pissed off with some of these aspects of this plan. The only parts that I can say that I'd agree with is that little flat area, if you can maintain it as a flat area above Picnic Bay. And the access to Picnic Bay must be maintained. That's a very, very popular part of it. On this particular plan, there is also extra car parks provided for on the Picnic Bay side of the car park, the existing car park. That in itself would be a very expensive exercise because of the drop-off existing there now, and the retaining wall would have to be put in place to do it. It would be way out of proportion to any benefit. Whereas on the other side of the car park, a digger into the side of that hill, and it's only just generally, it's just rubbish, there's gorse and bracken and rubbish there. It can be made so many more car parks can be made over that part of it than anywhere else. So let's see, that car park over there. Oh, and this claim by these people here that they provide 101 extra car parks. When whoever decided to put all these car parks up there with planters in between, all looks well and good. But on the days of heavy usage down at the beach, it's not adequate. So what they did then was they closed off half of the car parks. They took away, when they put the helicopter pad in there, they took away 80 car parks. I know because I counted them. 80 car parks they're taken away when they redeveloped all that. So giving the helicopter landing pad back as car park is only putting it back where it was. The helicopter landing pad has been used once in the last 5 years that I know of, and that was the other day after to take the lady to hospital from the cyclone. And there's lots of other landing places for helicopters all around the place. With this plan here, the access to the beach, you're taking the beach away from the people. You're putting them so far back that they've got all this maze to get through to get to it. So that's no. There was mention in here somewhere about a par site. Well, I'd like to see the par site marked off so that we'll know where it is, if there ever was one. The other thing that I've got down here is the shuttle bus is a good idea to get up and down there, but at the present time it stops right in the middle of the main carriageway, doesn't it? So a decent dropping off point for the shuttle bus. So all in all, I think a lot of this here you might as well put it in the rubbish bin and just go ahead with those extra car parks, shuttle bus service, shuttle bus bays. And forget about the rest, we haven't got the money.
Use a shuttle bus, we're going to take any parking away. Because you have a bus stop, so how many car parks can you use?
No, that can be done, Judith. That can be done, yeah. Okay, so that's most of my bitching and moaning, carrying on.
Thank you very much for.
And can you just ask me personally, how's Howdo?
We can talk about other things outside of the hearing, so thank you.
Okay.
Questions. If there are any questions from the panel to Dave?
No, but thank you for your presentation.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dave.
Okay, guys, thanks.
Next up, we have Heather Rogan. Welcome, Heather.
Hello, and thank you for this opportunity to present my ideas on this. I must say, very similar to what you've just heard from Dave. one thing I do agree with in this is the keeping the surf club where it is. But you have made it very difficult for access to the surf club in this design. I think you need to make sure that there's good, clear access for large vehicles to get to the surf club and down onto the beach if necessary in times of accident or emergencies. So, and I would also keep the toilets where they are. They're reasonably new. They seem to be perfectly okay. And I would say definitely no to commercial development as proposed in Area C. I can't see the point, if you're keeping the surf club where it is, why in Area C there's talk about having a possible surf club there. Well, I have a lot of problems with the proposal for commercial development there because for one thing, it will increase parking pressures. And for another thing, it really sends the wrong signal about the sort of environment that we like at Mangawhai Heads Surf Beach. The other thing is that it also puts unfair pressure on the existing hospitality outlets, all of which are struggling at the moment, I understand. So I think the informal coffee carts, etc., there are fine, and we should keep them. I would echo what Dave Chisholm has just said about the area that's proposed as an ocean park, and it does cut off access for people to the beach. So to put that in place, you've removed a lot of car parks, you've removed good access for the surf club, and I would suggest a complete redesign of that and make it, well, actually leave it as it is, but have some areas that are for drop-off, so informal drop-off areas, because I've certainly had the experience that you have people coming to stay during the holiday periods and they know they can't get a park there, so you take them there and you drop them off. And it's actually not as easy as it sounds. You always have someone, you know, coming up behind you and so on. So I would say make some designated drop-off zones. Now they could, during the winter, when people like me, elderly people, go there to go and have a look, see what's happening at the beach, especially in storms, they can be there for a few minutes and then go. And I think that would be much better use of that space that, I'm just trying to see what it's called there. It's the ocean park thing. Is there anything else? Yes, I think that's pretty much it. I just think that the whole thing is an unnecessary waste of money, really. And you could do a few simple tweaks and that would make that area much more useful. So, any questions?
Any questions for Heather from the panel? Crystal,
Okay.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Heather.
Okay.
Bruce Rogan, are you here, Bruce? Thank you, Bruce.
sorry about the, how this came about. I thought I had replied to the invitation and apparently I didn't. I don't know what that is. So I'm very much ad-libbing here.
That's all right. Thanks for coming and speaking to us, Bruce.
First of all, I start by saying I don't think you need to do anything there. Almost nothing would be perfectly okay because it works after a fashion. The whole thing works okay. I have tried to understand why this has come about. Why has this decision to spend a large amount of money and change a lot of things that are quite satisfactory, why has it come about? And I've come to the conclusion, and I may be wrong, of course, that it is because there's a drive to commercialise everything in sight. And the commercialisation of this area is at complete odds with what the community wants. Heather said in her remarks that commercial facilities down there, such as coffee bars and the like, will harm the other established commercial facilities in the whole district. Those of you who don't live here don't understand what's going on. But all of the restaurants and coffee bars and other facilities of that kind are at the verge of bankruptcy at the moment. They are really struggling because people haven't got any money and they don't go out anymore. They can't afford casual things like $5 cups of coffee. And another commercial development there will just put more strain on all of this and collapse the economic activity of the whole area. Now, if that happens, that will be on the council. No question. You'll be carrying the can for that. And I did say in my written remarks that I don't think that the mayor and Mr. Larson should be involved in any way in this kind of activity because you have got a declared open track record of commercial development. So this is not the sort of thing that you should be involved in. And I think I've said enough. Thank you. Unless you want to ask me some questions.
The panel got any questions for Bruce?
I just had one. I just wondered, had you seen on the consultation document that it just says that this is a concept and that there is actually, we're not looking at spending any money, it would come in the future if anything was available. So it's very much a concept plan and that the public can have their say. And then, you know, this is future looking. We're not putting any money towards this at the moment.
Okay. Perhaps I could have saved a lot of time then by saying, I think the whole thing's a dumb concept.
And that's your prerogative.
Yeah.
Thanks very much, Bruce.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So we're going to break for morning tea now and we'll come back in at 10:45 to continue with submissions. Thank you. Okay, thank you. And
How we going, team?
hi, Gary. Thank you, and welcome to the hearing. You've got 5 minutes to speak to your submission, and then any questions from the panel after that. So the floor is yours. Thank you.
Okay, cheers, mate. Hey, thank you very much for going through this process. It's quite important because there's a lot of stakeholders involved, and it's really good for me to be involved. I'm a resident of Mangawhai, ratepayer, but I'm only 900 metres from the beach. So as a swimmer, I get use all year round, and it's a huge, important area to me of the town. And so I'm pleased that you've proposed these changes to the scenic reserve, and really pleased that I can talk to them. There's a couple of things that I want to cover today. There's obviously the access to the beach. There's the surf club and the commercial building. So those are things I want to talk briefly to, and just put my 10 cents worth in. So thanks for the time. As far as the access to the beach goes, your proposal seems a bit fraught, and obviously there's a bit of work that needs to go into it. It seems to be a long way, on the Picnic Bay side, a long way from the ablution block and the amenities, which I see as being a bit problematic. Also, I'm a bit concerned at that area being tidal affected, and in king tides it could be higher than the access to the beach. So obviously that needs a bit more thought. Also, I think the best access that we've got down into Picnic Bay is there currently. It's just not managed well. And I'm sure that could be improved with a bit of stormwater management, and because that tends to be the cause of the most erosion to it, although some of the storms have eroded down the bottom. But a good platform and a good set of wooden stairs like we've got the other side, I think would, if you could take that on board, that'd probably be an easier way to get access, and it'd be far closer to the amenities, and it'd mean that we'd access for a lot more people, especially those who may be disabled or old, like me. So that'd be good if you can take that into consideration. On the other side of it, of course, changing the access point to the ocean beach, that needs a bit more thought too. Close to the surf club is pretty good because wheelchair access is still available, and more cases around the world, we're getting disabilities being looked after, and getting access to the beach and the waves, which I think is pretty important. The surf club, I think, needs to stay where it is, because of the point of the placement of that building currently means that they can view what's going on, and get to a rescue mode fairly quickly. However, I do see that the leasehold on it is only 5 by 1 by 1 by 1. That doesn't give it much certainty, and kind of smacks of, we want to move you on when we move you on. So, that'd be a bit of a worry for me. I think it's a good building there. It just needs a bit of improvement. And, after the disaster of a couple of years ago, that's on the mend. And I think there's some few things that could be added there to help the Surf Lifesaving Club and the services they offer. So, yeah, I think that needs to stay put. As far as a commercial building goes, I have a concern that you want to put a commercial building on a scenic reserve. That kind of goes against what most things are, I think. So yeah, I wouldn't be in favour of having a commercial building there. And besides, in the plan, it seems to have the plan drawn, so there's a hell of a lot of earthworks because you'll be going into the hill to do that, and I don't think that'd be warranted. So yeah, I'm not a big fan of putting a commercial building in that space. The ablution block was improved a few years ago, and that seems to be adequate. And all I'd suggest is maybe that could be added to, but in general, I think that's functioning and it's working. So they're really the 3 points that I was going to make today. You know, the access to the beach, the surf club staying where it is, and then no commercial buildings. So pretty short and to the point, but you know, that's the points that I'd like to make. So, yep. Is there any questions?
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Gary. I'll just see if we have any questions from the panel.
Thank you, John.
No, yep,
Thanks very much, Gary. Appreciate it.
thank you.
Okay, good man. Thank you very much. Enjoyed it. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, Gary.
Cheers.
Next up, we have John Drucker. Welcome, John.
Hello. Presenter, is it here?
You can sit up there, thank you. And we've got, you've got 5 minutes to speak to your submission, and then if we needed five minutes for questions from the panel.
Okay, well, I'm here to comment.
Sorry, just before you start, you've got 2 submissions, so you will have 10 minutes and 10 for questions.
The only reason I have 2 submissions is because one of them, my computer died and then I had to redo it. So I don't have, I've tailored things to about 5 minutes here, or probably less. And I've written it down because it makes it easier for me. So I'll be reading this. And I'm here to comment on the Mangawhai Heads concept plan and volunteer lifeguard service lease. And I commend the council for proposing to upgrade the Surf Beach Reserve. But I've serious reservations about at least one aspect of what is proposed, which is the movement of the surf club location from its current location. The current location of the surf club is the ideal position from a public safety standpoint, and also from the operation of the junior surf program. Surf lifesaving is an essential public safety service, and its operational efficiency should be optimized in any plan concerning the reserve. In its over 60 years of service to the community, the Mangawhai Heads Volunteer Lifeguard Service has made tens of thousands of preventative actions, safety contacts, and has affected hundreds of aquatic rescues, many of which have actually saved people's lives. Now, I've personally been involved in some of those actions. The Surf Club's mission is to provide a high quality of aquatic service to the community, and its motto is service, vigilance, and endurance. I have been a lifeguard now. This is my 47th season. I did 35 years in California and was retired as a professional lifesaver there and a state police officer as well. I've been volunteering here in Mangawhai since 1986. During that time, I can say that the service that these volunteers do provide to this community is top notch, and I've seen heroic actions by volunteers from this community saving lives out there. And a lot of that has to do with the placement of the club. As part of the motto is vigilance, where the club is located now is it has a view, pretty much a whitewater view from Tiarai Point to Breamtail, and then you can see the entire coastline everywhere. You can see boats that they're firing flares off at Little Barrier Island. You can see everything, and that's important, mostly concerning the bar, whether it be surfers on the bar or boats crossing the bar, because that's where most of the big rescues happen there. You tuck the surf club away from its current location, you no longer have the visual ability to scan the entire area and see something when it happens, or quite possibly before it happens. You can see people struggling, you can see a boat coming, you can watch the conditions change on the bar as the tide goes out, as the surf changes. And these things happen hourly. Sometimes, the wind can whip up within 5 minutes and that bar can get extremely treacherous, whereas it was very safe beforehand. So if you move the club from where it is and you put a little station down there where you have a viewing platform, you're taking, the way a volunteer patrol works is you've got a cadre of people there. Yesterday, I was on patrol. I've got 47 years of experience. I was with a 14-year-old, a 16-year-old on the flags. I was seeing things that they would never see in terms of, oh, that guy's got a bad stroke over there and that rip's starting to pull. Hey, let's keep an eye on these guys. So if I'm not on the flags and I'm in the clubhouse making lunch or repairing an engine or doing this or doing that, where the club is currently located, I have an ability to watch the water at all times. And that's important in the provision of a volunteer service is to have everybody's experience on board, being able to maintain vigilance on the water and to be able to spot things while they're happening or maybe before they're happening so that we can have a quick response, because sometimes minutes or seconds make the difference between life and death. And so the current location of the club is optimum, and any idea to remove it from its current location, I think would be detrimental to public safety. Also, one of the better programs that the Surf Life Saving Club provides is the Junior Surf Program. And we currently have a couple hundred kids showing up every Sunday. They muster down there with their other family members, with their parents, and and they do so at the beach. They're not doing so next to a public ablution block. They're not doing so next to a commercial venture. They're doing so at the beach. And that's important because the Junior Surf Program, it instills in youngsters the values of responsibility, the values of risk assessment, the values of fitness, and these things often spill over to their family members and to their parents, and it's a vital inflow for the volunteers that are required to provide a lifeguard service for the community. So anything that is detrimental to the Junior Surf Program is detrimental to the provision of life-saving services here, in that it's going to affect that flow of volunteers and people coming into the life-saving movement. And so the current location allows parents, family members, and everybody else to be there and to watch what's going on, to be, surrounded by people who can explain to them what's happening and perhaps bring them into the movement and keep for a solid volunteer flow that will keep the volunteer life-saving service at the level that we currently enjoy here in this community. And I think it's a really important aspect of the community because without it, if you have an unsafe beach, then you have, as they found in LA County, where I'm from, if you promote a safe beach for people to come and recreate at, then you get more tourism, and it's just generally better for the community. So, speaking to that, and that's what I'd like to say in regard to keeping the surf club in its current location. I'd also like to speak towards the idea of just the public safety aspect of closing down the picnic bay, the current picnic bay access. I've personally been involved in an aquatic rescue there, where quite often when that tide goes out, you got that yellow buoy out there, and people, they don't know the currents all that well, and they just are going to go swim around that buoy. And we have had numerous incidents where people get washed away there, and so you get a call to picnic bay, and you run back there, and where the current access is, it's straight down to the beach. You can keep an eye on the person that you're going to make, a contact on, and it's the most direct route to the beach. And and from a public safety aspect, if you move that into a point where you've got to run all the way away from the water, you can't keep an eye on your patient, and then you got to come and run all the way around there, and then get eyes on that patient again, it just would affect the provision of a rescue there, which has happened before and will undoubtedly happen again. And just one aside to that, I noticed that there are now lifeguard tubes that are placed along the main beach there. And I don't know if that's a KDC thing or if some other agency's done that, but I would just suggest in this forum, while I've got your ears, is that it would not be a bad idea to probably place those tubes, if it's a KDC thing, at certain points along the estuary as well, because those currents, people try to swim across from North Ave and they get caught in currents, and any sort of life-saving amenities there would be probably very beneficial to the community in the long run. I also did want to quickly speak just to the idea of the lease for the surf club. Having been involved with the club for many, many years, I would have to say that the ability to engage sponsors to provide funding for the ongoing success of the life-saving service there has to be some sort of, they have to know that they're contributing to something that's going to be there. If you're asking for funding for a club that, has a 5-year lease, they're going to go, well, but you've got, opportunity for 3 more years on that. That's not a long-term, it's not a long-term, it's not a long enough term to really provide for long-term planning for the life-saving service, for the people who are donating to it. And so along those lines, I would personally recommend that you give the surf club a good long lease so that they can plan and provide the service that they've done so wonderfully for 60-odd years now to this community. So that's essentially what my 5 minutes is time for.
Perfectly timed.
Well, every once in a while I get lucky. I've got, there's there's a lot going on down there at the reserve, and there's a lot to speak to, but I just wanted to focus on the public safety aspects of things because that's what my expertise is. So thank you for your ears, and
wonderful. Thanks very much, John. So we'll go now to any questions from the panel, and I think that your description of the location was valuable to hear. What would you envisage if the surf club wanted to upgrade or redevelop the facilities to do that on the site where it currently is located?
I think the site where it is currently located is by far the best site.
Yeah.
You can actually see the bar crossing, you can see boats crossing the bar. We've had incidents there before where there's been night issues. So we actually have a spotlight that you can put in the front room. So at night, if there's a boat that washes up on the rocks, which has happened before from the club, you can put a spotlight out there and you can effect rescues from there. But it's just like I said, the way with tide, breeze, and currents and swell, the conditions on the bar change hourly. And if if I'm up at the ablution blocks working on, the outboard motor and not being able to watch the changing conditions, then my 47 years of experience are lost on being able to read, where to best muster our team and where to keep eyes on the water. So that location is optimum.
Okay, thank you. And with regard to the access to Picnic Bay, the access that's closest to the surf club being that eastern access, have you got any thoughts about how that might be configured to deal with the issues that have been discussed about, coastal erosion and stormwater and things?
I think what the gentleman just before me on the video feed said is if there was just a staircase, a wooden staircase or something like that, that takes you on down to the beach there, that would seem to me to be a better way to do it than because it's really just stormwater runoff that is causing most of that erosion. And something similar to what's on the other side would probably be very effective.
Okay, thank you, John. Are there any other questions for John from the panel?
Yeah, I just had a question.
Yes, Councillor Williams.
When you say that tubes have been placed down at the beach for rescue purposes, is that the left or the right? So you've got
I haven't been down, but I think towards the beginning of up toward the north towards Bream Tail, there was a rescue tube, as I was told, placed up there, and of course there's some at Lang's Beach now. There quite a lot of the unpatrolled beaches have a rescue tube for people who are capable of making a rescue, but you need a flotation device to hand to someone who's drowning. And I think in the inner harbor here, in the estuary, there is a lot more activity here all the time. And those currents get very strong here in the estuary as well. So that's a very efficient way of providing a bit better public safety that the council could do.
Yeah, I just wonder if it was NRC.
Okay. Right, okay, thanks very much for coming to see us, John.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
The next up, we have Francine Cameron. Welcome, Francine.
Okay, first of all, I'm not here on behalf of the Surf Club. I'm here in my own personal capacity. I do have a few issues. I mean, the proposed plan I think looks good, but I do have a few issues with it. And the main one is the location of the surf club, the proposed change. And my other one might be just that where money is obviously always an issue, it does seem a bit of a waste of money to me to sort of upgrade the car park when I don't think, my understanding is it wouldn't add that many car parks, but it would cost a bit of money. And I think that that money might be better spent in other ways. So my main issue is sort of the safety of the Mangawhai community and that location of the surf club, and much very similar to what John has said. That, yeah, the main issue is that the surf club isn't in the best location. Now, the community needs our surf club to be sustainable, and to do that, we need to attract more lifeguards and we need to retain them. Now, the lifeguards at the moment, nearly all of them work full-time, and so they work 5 days and they come and do their weekend roster and they're on for another 2 days, really hard work and often challenging conditions. And then when on Sunday night, then they're preparing to go to work again for another 5 days. So that's 4 days in a row. So they're volunteers, they don't get paid for that. And we need to attract them to want to do that. We need them to keep doing that. We need those young ones coming through. And apart from the safety aspect, it's really hard even at the moment where they're operating from is hard. They're storing jet skis down near the boat club there and by the estuary, and they have to move it all around. And all this takes a lot of time. It's a lot of hassle, and there is so much equipment. And already that their job is hard, but moving it, I mean, obviously at the moment is especially hard, but we can't do anything about that. But if the location of that main building and where they store all their stuff is up, you know, where it's proposed to be, it is so much harder getting it up. You know, there's all these knee boards and there is just a lot of equipment, great big heavy first aid things. Also, there is, if you've got a patient on the beach and they've had a stroke or broken leg and you've got to somehow get them up, it's hard enough now getting them to the surf club where it is. But we have a lot of fixed first aid equipment. So there's oxygen machines and things that are fixed. So we need to get them in there. If we have to get them all the way up to where it's proposed, it's a lot further, a lot harder, and it's just, it's a risk. And it's also making it harder for those lifeguards to do their job. Now, this is a genuine question, and maybe the answer is yes, but I do wonder whether any of the councillors have ever actually been to the surf club or been there, particularly on the weekend when it's volunteers, and actually seen what they do, because I think then you might have a better understanding of it is actually quite difficult and it is hard work, and so just making it easier would be good. And as John touched on before, my daughter is a surf lifeguard, so I've been involved in a couple of years sort of in that lifeguard area, and it's not at all like Bondi Rescue and the TV programs. They aren't just watching the flags, you know, where they are now in the caravans, and particularly where that main building was. As John said, they can see right down to Te Arai, right up to sort of Whangarei Heads, and they're always watching the bar and all those other areas. And the way they operate is not just the couple of people in what might be that small patrol tower that's proposed. You're only going to get a few people in there. the rest of the time after hours, and John was talking about night rescues, there wouldn't even be any night rescues if that building is moved because they won't see the people there. There is constantly people in that surf club building. They're not just there when they're on patrol, but they're doing training and cleaning and planning meetings, and all sorts of things are going on there. They're repairing, and while they're doing that, they're all constantly looking out at the water to see what's going on. And when they are on duty, they'll send someone down. Oh, there's something weird going on. Surfer might have hurt themselves, or this guy doesn't look like what he's doing, that he knows what he's doing on the boat, so they go help them. And they won't be able to do all that stuff because there will only be a few people in that small patrol tower, not potentially 30 people that are up there keeping a lookout. Sorry, I'm just checking that I've covered all my points. There'll also be added cost in building that extra small lookout, and it just doesn't seem necessary, and it won't have all the things in it that the surf club building now has, and it just seems like not an efficient use of money. Yeah, and I think it's also about attracting those people and making those volunteers' lives a bit easier and making it more attractive for people to donate money and doing a lot of things that help make it sustainable and safer for the community.
Okay, thank you very much, Francine. Do we have any questions from the panel for Francine?
No, I think your presentation was very clear. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, next up we have Belinda Vernon. Welcome, Belinda. You've submitted on both of the topics, so you have up to 10 minutes if needed to speak to both of your submissions effectively, and then any questions that arise.
Okay, thank you. Well, I'll start with the surf club lease. As a local and as a daily swimmer at Mangawhai Heads, I support the proposal to grant the surf club a lease of 5 years with 5 one-year renewals, if that is all that is on offer. I strongly advocate for a longer term lease, like a lot of other people. A maximum 10-year lease is just not sufficient for the surf club to plan and rebuild its current structure effectively. Now, I'm not a surf club member, but I am certain about 3 things. One is that the surf club is in the right place, it needs to be rebuilt, and it needs a longer term lease. The current site, as others have said, is ideal for the surf club. It offers excellent views along the Ocean Beach, the Bar, and the Southern Spit Beach. It's critical for the monitoring of the safety of surfers and swimmers, and its proximity to the water ensures easy access for personnel and equipment, as others have said. As a former lifeguard at Bethel's Beach, I understand the challenges of a surf club that is located far from the beach action. It doesn't work. The concept plan proposal to relocate the club into that commercial area is detrimental to public safety. A separate tower, as others have said, cannot match the effectiveness of a well-sited surf club. The surf club needs to be rebuilt and made fit for purpose in its current location. And this is the reason for the current remediation work and the significant investment by Surf Life Saving New Zealand. Offering only a maximum 10-year lease severely hampers the club's ability to secure funding for a future-ready facility. Having worked in the not-for-profit sector for more than 20 years, I know how challenging it is to raise funds, especially for capital projects. Funders, whether they be corporates, trusts, foundations, or the Lottery Grants Board, will not invest or fund a structure that is meant to last 20 years when there is no security of tenure or no corresponding lease term. So by offering such a short-term lease, the council risks setting the surf club up to fail. There is no security of tenure for the club, potential investors or funders. The Surf Club is integral to Mangawhai Heads as much as the sand and the sea. Established in 1963, I think, it has been a fixture for as long as I can remember and crucial to the Heads of Mangawhai's reputation as for safe swimming. As a daily swimmer, I appreciate the importance of water safety, and the lifeguard service is fundamental to achieving that. The Sunday Junior Surf Program, which has also been referenced, is testament to the club's community value. Please grant the Surf Club a lease that empowers them to build for the future. Do not constrain them with a lease that hinders their ability to raise the necessary funds for a fit-for-purpose structure. In closing, I need to point out something that somebody did earlier on. I need to point out that the question asking whether submitters support the council lease proposal has clearly been interpreted in different ways by different submitters. Some, like me, have assumed that the proposal was a take it or leave it. And so we've supported the option, but we've said we'd rather it was for a longer period. Others have objected to the proposal, with all but 3 of them supporting a longer term lease. So you've got the opponents and the supporters actually both supporting the same thing. So please read the submissions in context. Don't just do a numerical check of who said that they were in favour and who was against. So the community has spoken really loudly. In fact, it's shouted. It wants the Surf Club to have a longer term lease to enable it to operate effectively on our beach. So I encourage you to consider that. Any questions on the Surf Club?
Any questions from the panel on the lease submission? No, thanks, Linda.
Right. Okay, well, 55 years ago, a 10-year-old came to Mangawhai Heads for the first time. 2 decades later, she bought a property. 6 years ago, she chaired the KDC advisory group on the Mangawhai Community Plan. Today, she stands before you advocating for the protection of the Mangawhai Heads Reserve, ensuring it is available for future generations in keeping with its reserve status. With the power site guarding the harbour entrance, the headland protecting Picnic Bay, and the White Rock and the Sentinel Rock marking the ocean beach, it is a place of natural beauty, mainly devoid of built structures, and it needs to stay that way. I make 3 points. Keep the Surf Club where it is. Do not permit a commercial building on the reserve area, and improve safe access to both the surf beach and Picnic Bay. The purpose of the reserve status is to ensure public access and enjoyment of this unique landscape. Future development must adhere to the principle of free access and passive enjoyment. The reserve is accessed by a 1.5 narrow winding road with no roadside parking. During peak summer, it faces constant pressure. So more formal parking is welcome, but so would be drop-off points and cycle parking. Introducing a commercial facility would introduce a completely new and different cohort of visitor and traffic to an already congested area. Mangawhai Heads Reserve is not the Gold Coast of Australia. It's not Piha. We lack space. Building a structure attracting new visitors is short-sighted and irresponsible. Current commercial activity is appropriate and low impact. There is no physical footprint. The landscape is unspoiled. The proposed building would significantly impact on the site, particularly on the power site and the hillside that is protected by Heritage New Zealand. Replacement of the existing toilet block is not required. The current facility is robust, it's fit for purpose, and it's in the right place. The surf club is in the right place and should not be moved. Safe beach access to both the surf beach and picnic bay must be a priority, but they both cover sensitive dune environments, so need careful planning. Access near the surf club, which seems to have been taken away, needs to be retained and enhanced for people with mobility issues. A ramp or step-free access should be considered. Access to picnic bay is urgent. The current access should be retained and improved with proper drainage and stormwater management. While a new access way may be an option, it is likely to be avoided by those wanting to have the quickest route to the beach. It's just human nature. People will find the shortest route, whether it's there or not. The idea of an estuary park initially appealed to me, but focusing on weed control in that area with small seating areas is more realistic and cost effective, particularly given the area's heritage status. I oppose the ocean park because it limits surf club access. Easy access for surf club personnel and emergency services is essential. Seating or parking for those unable to access the beach might be more appropriate here. Now, contrary to the advice you've received, the inclusion of a commercial building in the concept plan is not consistent with the reserves management plan. It is not needed for the convenience of reserve users. It is not related to the informal use or passive use of the reserve. It is not consistent with the reserves management plan. An overlay of the proposed building on the existing area would have highlighted that it significantly encroaches on the area of the headland. The concept plan was anything but transparent. The word association, the word possible in association with the commercial building was also disingenuous. It was as if the council or the proposal was trying to wrap up the commercial building with the surf club and the toilet block, and it was akin to a wolf dressing up in wolf's clothing or Little Red Riding Hood. So look, I urge you to take the good things in the proposal, but keep the surf club where it is. Don't demolish the current toilet facilities, and ensure that we have safe access to the two beaches. And also make sure that you do actually need a new concept plan to do what is already there in place. I think the concept plan is a Trojan horse for the commercial building, and you should be aware of it. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Belinda. Do we have any questions on that submission from the panel?
Very clear, thanks.
Thanks, Belinda. Thank you. Good. Okay, next up we have Mike Ferguson, who's going to join us online. Are you there, Mike? Can you hear me?
Yep. G'day, guys. Can you hear us all right?
Yeah. Yep. Thanks for joining us, Mike. This is you've got 5 minutes to speak to your submission, and then any questions arising after that. Thanks very much. The floor is yours.
Thanks, Jonathan. I think most people there have met me at some stage. I'm third generation as a lifeguard in Mangawhai, and my father and grandfather were not only founding members but helped build the club. As an ex-president, I had a lot to do with negotiating leases with previous councils. For my submission, I'll just go straight to the key points because I think that's critical. In the plan itself, the lack of dedicated emergency access is critical to not only to have, but also to include in the new plan. We had a designated helo area, which is now used for car parking. And last year, of the 6 patrols that I led last year, on 4 occasions, we required the ambulance or the helicopter. The ability to get people into an ambulance or get them to us has become critical, and it's becoming increasingly hard. Anything going forward, I believe, needs to have that as its primary concern. For the lifeguard services ourselves, you know, the lack of car parks restricts our members to be able to get down and do their jobs. And particularly when we have call outs, we often leave 1 or 2 car parks free now for people to be able to come down where we need to call people out for extra events we have on the beach. When it comes to the surf club itself, I believe that, as was always in the past, that the surf club should be the primary leaseholder, and that all obstacles should be taken out of the way for the surf club to continue to do that. And in speaking to that, there seems to be a disparity within our council now of how we treat tenants. The surf club, a long-term tenant with the sole aim of serving the community, self-funded the development on the point originally, and continued to fund itself, including the slip, which technically was the council's responsibility. And to say that it needs to go to a 5-year lease, when you look at other organisations, the golf course, the fishing club, have all been granted 30-year leases. It's important that the council realigns its values and starts looking at those community organisations that do a large part of forming, you know, the core and the body of keeping our community safe, should have those rights of having their leases at least the same as everybody else. And there's no reason the council shouldn't be entering into a 30-year lease for exactly where the building is. On the case of putting a commercial property, the issue with a commercial property, and we've gone through this a number of times in different reiterations. We sent a delegation to the Gold Coast, and we put together a number of business cases to see if it would stand to have a commercial premise based in the surf club and or occupying it close. There was no business case that stands up given the size of our community, the size of the parking, and the cost of developing that. And it seems fruitless that the council continues to pursue that as an option. There's a large plot of land down right next to Tauriti that's reserve, an ideal place for a future surf club to expand the amount of people coming into Mangawhai.
1 minute.
Where you have a commercial premises trying to operate in an area that's recreational, and you end up with a conflict of interest. So firstly, there's no business case. Second, the conflict of interest creates mayhem in an area that it shouldn't be. The only other thing that I did note is that there's a large road reserve that runs on Wintle Road going down towards the surf club, and no provision and thought had been given to providing roadside angle parking to increase the existing parking in the reserve. And lastly, in closing, you know, the council should focus on what works well in the reserve, and that's the surf club. And secondly, be focused on providing more access, particularly from the campground, to cut down on the mayhem that happens here. So that in a nutshell, team, is my submission.
Thanks very much, Mike. Do we have any questions for Mike from the panel relating to his submission?
No, I think your points were very clear, Mike. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Mike. Appreciate it.
Brilliant. Thank you for your time, team. Appreciate it. Cheers.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have Alex Flavel Johnson. Welcome, Alex. Online. You're welcome, Alex. You've got 5 minutes to speak to your submission.
Thank you. Morning, everybody. So straight into it. I will, I'm asking for no commercial buildings, completely opposed to the idea of commercial buildings here. That's to protect the relatively undeveloped nature of the Heads Reserve there. And yeah, commercial businesses, I think, would destroy that beachside feel. Current allowances for temporary vendors is suitable, that's working. The parking, as we have it currently doesn't even manage to service beach goers. So a permanent commercial offerings, I think, would put added visitor pressure with more traffic and less parking, restricting the community's access to the beaches and reserves, and overall make it a busier, less enjoyable experience, I think, along with issues of more water, more wastewater, stormwater pressure, delivery trucks trying to use those small, narrow roads out to the reserve. It also seems contradictory to the council's vision under the Mangawhai Heads, or the Mangawhai Coastal and Harbour Reserves Management Plan. And it appears that within the plan that the proposed commercial building zone, zone C, includes a large cut into a pa and urupa site, which, if that is the case, which would be entirely unacceptable. In terms of retaining the access points to Picnic Bay, I would be in support of retaining both of them, not removing the eastern one. That is the main access point to Picnic Bay currently. I understand it might be difficult for the council to maintain that track, but I would ask, rather than removing it, prioritise resources or resourcing this access. That western access that is being proposed to be retained, it's not suitable for use sort of at high tide a lot of the time. So retaining both accesses means there is always access to Picnic Bay. I'm supportive of retaining the car parks in Area F. It allows people with restricted mobility to still see and access the beach even without getting out of their vehicle. It allows people to, enjoy the beach on rainy days when they might not actually want to get out of the car. A lot of surfies and boaties use them quickly to sort of assess the conditions, the ocean conditions before going out. So, potentially they could be retained with, like a half an hour or 15-minute time frame there rather than permanent car parks. And I'd also like to see more parks there retained for surf club operations. The toilet and shower block, I would ask the councillors or the committee, do these actually need replacing? What's their current life expectancy? If they don't need to be replaced immediately, I don't really see the point in wasting resources doing it. If they are to be removed, I'd ask the council really needs to give clear commitment that new facilities are going to be delivered, because we can't have no toilets and showers there. In regards to the surf club, I'm supportive of setting aside land for the surf club in future if that's needed, so like future proofing for climate change and resilience. I'm opposed to any change in the surf club location now, especially without full agreement from the surf club. Currently, I mean, that site is not as practical for operations of surf club, the surf lifesaving service. It doesn't have the same vantage points or viewing or access points to the beach, and some of those additional increased distances from the beach could cost lives at a time. As I already alluded to, I think there's in the current plan insufficient parking set aside for lifeguards, for emergency services. So yeah, some more parking needs to be retained for them. Overall, in summary, I'm supportive of leaving the surf club where it is, and removing the proposal for commercial buildings. Leave the toilet block as is unless it needs replacing. So then really all the plan is left with is some additional parking and grass preserves, which I am supportive of. I would sort of ask, rather than redoing the entire parking area, can we just add the additional parking to cut down on expenses and limit disruption and disturbance and use of that area while construction is going on. Finally, I think it doesn't really allude to it in the proposed plans at all, but the reserve really does need a plan for sustained pest, plant and animal control and native revegetation, and hopefully we're using a lot of like green infrastructure for stormwater treatment at the site, so no more direct discharging into the sea. And that is all for me. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Alex. Just see if we have any questions from the panel. Do we have any Questions for Alex?
Alex?
Oh, no questions. Thank you for your presentation. Thank
Kia
you.
ora koutou.
Thank you, Alex. Okay, we're now going to have a break for an early lunch and we'll come back in at 12 o'clock. Thank you. Okay, welcome back, everybody. We'll reconvene now. The first up, we have Aaron McConchie. Aaron, thanks for coming, and you've got 2 submissions, so you have up to 10 minutes if needed to speak to both of your submissions, and then we'll have any questions from the panel arising from that.
No worries.
Of course, thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor. Yeah. Apologies for my appearance. I kind of got called in early, so I was expecting to go home and get changed, but that didn't happen. What submission would you like to talk about first?
Whichever way you prefer.
Okay. So we'll start with the proposed plan for Mangawhai Heads and the commercialisation and development of. I stated in my submission that I'm against the commercialisation of the heads. Yeah, I hope that's fairly standard across most of the submitters. For several reasons. One, I mean, there's always we know there's serious pressure on the heads as far as usage, and through the summer months and on the weekends it's flat out. It's busy as there's nowhere to get around, and you know they have introduced the free bus, which is great. I'm not too sure how much that actually alleviates the pressure at the heads, but hopefully it's doing some good. Adding anything that is supposedly a commercial draw, such as a cafe or anything that's commercial like that, is going to be problematic for parking. And going forward, I have a history in hospitality prior to doing what I do now, and also work closely with several of the hospitality providers in Mangawhai, in the local area, and it's a difficult climate. It's a difficult climate to do business. It's a difficult climate, especially in Mangawhai, to retain staff, to find staff. Introducing a facility that rely on a tenant to also compete in that market will be difficult, especially in a seasonal market like it is. And council, as landlords, will have problems finding tenants for that long term, as is the case for lots of hospitality venues in Mangawhai. And we can say, well, you know, there's population growing and stuff, but it's still very much a seasonal business. And the issue of keeping and retaining staff is a massive issue for all the hospitality providers here. We know several businesses that keep going under and in very prominent locations with great venues and very good operators, but it's just not profitable. So councils then coming on board as landlords for something like that is not the sharpest move. You're leaving yourselves open for a lot of risk and a lot of cost for no gain. The other side to that is that if there is something that goes in there in the proposed commercial space that requires parking, then they'll be demanding for permanent parking, for reserved parking for their customers, and that's just not really tenable up on that area. It's one, you're going to have arguments and you're going to have enforcement, so there's going to be costs for the council to enforce those things. You're going to lose money just because of that factor. And then on the proposed plan, I also highlighted that for the overall development of parking and the access to stuff, the access into the picnic bay, I'm hoping would just a scribble on a piece of paper, because it's sort of not really a practical solution to how you approach and get into picnic bay, because they were to close off the main access, the parking lot, to include a new access and the current access that's redeveloped, which is further inland, but those are incredibly tidal. High tide, you walk into water, hence erosion, all kinds of problems, whereas the one that's already there, which is in disrepair and it's a bit tricky, is an all-tide access into picnic bay. So someone hasn't had a good think about that one, or they have and have come up with a solution that I'm not aware of and was not presented in the submission documents. Happy to be if there's a good solution for it, but it's not been presented to the public as far as I know. And then, yeah, just me personally, for the development, like there's been a lot of development around Mangawhai and a lot of change. A lot of that is what it is. But to then increased pressure and commercial man-built or person-built developments in the heads is kind of against what everyone mostly was here for and lives here for, is the natural environment, enjoying it. And, you know, there was that, obviously the large redevelopment of the heads and parking and the new toilets and that sort of stuff a wee whiles ago. And that was a massive change for that area. I don't know, I understand the need for clean facilities to look after the people that visit there, and the alternative is them doing the thing everywhere else, so you can't have that. But let's not go too far with it, because once we go too far, there's no going back. There really isn't. No one ever backtracks on these things. Councils don't demo buildings for that sort of reason. So let's just not cause headaches and problems and eyesores when we don't need them. It's not needed. Hospitality industry in Mangawhai gets by. It doesn't need another competitor in the market to thin out the available staffing, supply chain and offerings. Better for council to get some time and effort with advisors to increase the viability and the usefulness of what we already have, than to add a new venue and to hope that someone is available and can actually afford to live through the hard times that they will have in those venues, plus all the headaches that you have to deal with patronage and all that sort of thing. Obviously, we've got the lifeguards there. And moving on to the other submission, I guess, I fully support the Mangawhai lifeguards, and they should be there. They should have a perpetual lease forever, in my eyes. I know that's not a thing that happens, but a 30-year lease, why not? They're not going anywhere. They shouldn't be going anywhere. It's unsafe to not have lifeguards there. We should have them there all year, at least on the weekends. But, you know, we rely heavily on the volunteers and the quick response teams of that we do have of the volunteers that can get there when things happen, as we know they do in the bar midwinter. So to have any other option than Mangawhai lifeguards not being there seems odd. And for the proposed lease, what was it? It was a 5 + 5 + 1 + 1 + 1, something like that.
5 plus 1 year to 5, so 10 years.
Yeah, well, they're going to have to be there for longer than that. So let's make it a 10 + 10 + 10. If you need to split it up, make it a 33, make it 100. You know, why not be leaders in the country and stand by the council and stand by the Mangawhai Life Council? Listen, I'm going to give you a 100-year lease. Never been done before. Let's do it. Why not? You know, there's no reason that we have to have them there. People will die if they're not. So why usher uncertainty into their organisation? And I mean, sure, if NZ Surf Lifesaving suddenly goes under and they disappear from thing, then okay, there's a rethink, but it's not going to happen. Can't happen. The public won't let it happen. And we certainly won't let the Mangawhai lifeguards disappear. So that's sort of, personally from my perspective, and I'm fully behind Mangawhai lifeguards, and that they retain their status here and build upon it, and they are a cornerstone of this community. Sorry?
Sorry, 1 minute here.
Oh, right, has that been 10 minutes? God, yeah. So I guess that's what I had to say, and hopefully that clarifies anything that was in my submission that I'm trying to remember that I didn't have with me because I didn't have in the truck. Sorry.
Great, thank you, Aaron. That was very clear. And do you have any questions for Aaron from the panel at all in relation to his submission? Thank you, Aaron.
I just have.
Yes, Councillor Williams.
So you're proposing that we retain and repair the current Picnic Bay access where it is at the moment. For the what I'd call new access that's on the plan that leads down from we call it the Estuary Park. Do you see merit with having that there for people with mobility issues and elderly to have easier access down to Picnic Bay?
I'm not against not having it, just that it's a very tidal, interesting access to have as the only access. But I'm fully up for any kind of options for aiding in mobility. Picnic Bay is a difficult site for what it is, but to remove the current main access, and I didn't explain why that was getting removed in the submission form documents that I could see, other than someone wanted to do a change. I think
too, the steep steep gradient. We still have the other access point from the far end of the car park. So that remains with the stairs that's there. I guess it's just adding, maybe this would become a third.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
more access is fine. I mean, obviously, I'm assuming it's weighing up erosion issues and all that kind of thing as well. But yeah, the main one that happens now is there because it is the most appropriate access into Picnic Bay for all tides.
Thank you.
Great. Well, if there's no further questions, thank you very much for coming in and coming early for us as well. I appreciate it, Aaron.
No problem. Thank you.
We have we did have one further submitted in person, but they're quite a long way late, are they now? Not coming. Okay, so we can just close this. Okay, well, thank you very much, everybody who's attended today to speak to your submissions. It's been a really valuable day, and we are now at the end of seeing everyone that wants to speak, and so I will declare this meeting closed. Thank you.